Hi, welcome back to Waxing On. I know we've been away for a while. Sorry, I had a few things come up that had to be dealt with, and hopefully we'll get all that sorted out and be back on track here in the mid-November, or mid-October, not November, mid-October, with our regular episodes. Today we're remembering Kris Kristofferson, singer, songwriter, actor. Now, my first exposure to Kris was probably the movie Star is Born that he did with Barbra Streisand. But his acting career was starting to eclipse his musical career by this point. I mean, he'd written songs for a lot of artists. He recorded a number of albums of his own, but the acting seemed to be, they felt, taking more of his time. I've got a couple albums we're going to look at today that were released right shortly after the Star is Born movie. Now, the albums I picked up, just give you a quick look out there. Here we're getting about the glare, Easter Island, and Shake Hands with the Devil. Shake Hands with the Devil, 1979, 1978 for Easter Island. Now, the critics, they weren't happy with them. Didn't feel they were up to the standard of some of Kris's earlier works. Again, that's where they were saying, I think he's spending more time on the acting than he is on the music. He was just cranking these albums out. I saw Kristofferson. My wife and I went to see him, probably, I'm going to say, early 80s. And like I say, an interesting concert. Great to see a superstar like that. Maybe not as memorable as some things I've seen, but he had a whole different style from what was going on at that point. I mean, remember, this stage of the game, new wave was coming out, rock and roll. There was all kinds of music happening. While Kristofferson, staying true to his traditions, was playing more country ballady type music. Now, these albums, I'm going to say almost 45 years old, if you can imagine. I mean, I can't imagine that was 45 years ago. But there they are, 45 years. And to me, listening to them now, they're excellent albums. I mean, I was listening to them just earlier today, and I know the critics weren't happy with what's happening back in the late 70s. He was kind of doing different music than they wanted to hear. But to go back and listen to it now, 40 years later, with all that's happened in music, you really appreciate the talent, the writing, the performing that Kristofferson gave us on these two albums. Now, I have more current stuff. I got a couple albums by the Highwaymen, which again, a great super band, some excellent people. I mean, we got Waylon, we got Johnny Cash, we got Willie Nelson, we got Kris Kristofferson. I mean, how can you go wrong with a lineup like that? But these albums were Kris's solo albums. I believe it was 8 and 9 or 9 and 10 that he had produced. Now, the band, pretty much the same for both. We've got Mike Utley on keyboards, Stephen Burton guitar, Fred Tackett on guitars, Sammy Creason on drums, Tommy McCure on bass, Donnie Fritz on keyboards, and the singers were Mike Utley, Stephen Burton, Billy Swan, and Rita Coolidge. Now, this one, we've got some horn players on here. Daryl Leonard, Elon Price, and Dwight Smith. And the saxophone solo on one of the songs called Michogan was Elon Price. So it's expanded a little bit. I mean, having a horn section, not what you're going to find in a country band. And when I look at the albums, you can see there's a little different edge here. We're going with the Stratocaster. This picture looks very reminiscent of one from Star is Born. Easter Island, a little more traditional, just Kris and I guess the shots from Easter Island. We didn't get a lot of extras. Both come, you see that with lyrics, information about the songs, who's playing. And again, we always enjoy the lyrics because you can read along, sing along. It's nice having a little extra something with it. But if you get a chance, streaming networks, lots of material out there. I found these albums quite enjoyable, the two of them. This one may be a little edgier at time. You can see we're working some electronics in. We've got some horn work in there. This one may be a little more of the more ballady acoustic sound. But again, to get a glimpse of what he was doing, and again, 45 years ago, coming back, you could have released this now and it'd be just as interesting, just as fresh, just as exciting. It's just another one of those great artists that we kind of take for granted that's been around for most of my lifetime, and I'll tell you, we're losing them way too quickly. So that's it for today. A little look at some albums by Kris Kristofferson. Go on the streaming networks. Hard copies, if you can get them, always great. But go back and just give a listen to an artist that appreciate what he did for us and what we've lost. We'll see you again later in the week. Till then, everybody, take care. Stay safe. Thanks for stopping by.